For step number 17, installing the doors, this first part will be slightly different than the instructions, but either way is acceptable. To begin with, I'd like for you to orbit a little bit similar to this and come over here to your default tray, expand your tags category, and turn off your roofs and your ceilings by picking on the little eyeball there so we can look inside the homes here. And position yourself for this first one a little bit similar to this, where you can see the door and the opening. We are going to place the door where the inside face of the door is flush with the inside face of the wall. So select it, and then I'm just tapping my M button here on the keypad, and I'm going to move it from this base point here and then zoom in a little closer here and place it right there in point in walls. Okay, so if you look in the front here, it's nicely recessed, and that's actually how it is in real life. So for the other two rectangular doors, we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to select the door, go to move, pick on the corner, and come down here. Now, you see how it's not allowing me to come down here and pick on that corner? If you turn on your X-ray, it will allow you to get there right away. Okay. Now, I don't like working with X-ray a lot, so I'm just going to turn that off. If I need it again, I'll turn it back on. So you see that it's selected. It's still blue. So make sure that you hit your space bar and pick out here, or pick the little select icon there and pick out here to deselect anything. And I'm going to zoom in here where I can see the door, and I'm going to pick that little corner there and come down here. So it found it right away, and I'm going to pick there. I didn't need to turn on that. Now, I think I see something here. So you see that? I did this from a distance, and I was a little off there. So I'm just going to come around here and make sure I'm going to pick it there and put it back there. That's the way it should be, flush with the inside wall. Okay. So again, that's selected. So hit the space bar, pick out here, deselect it, and these three homes are okay. The arch door, we will start by placing that on the outside, flush with the outside. So again, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to pick on the door, go to my move command, pick on the outside corner, and then come over here and place it in the opening like that. Now we don't need to be looking inside anymore. So if you want, we come over here and turn on our ceilings and roofs. And again, that's selected. Don't forget to hit the space bar, pick out here someplace, and deselect it. So these three homes are ready to go. We don't have to do anything else to those in this step. But this one here is different because we have an arch door in a square opening. So if you remember, when we brought that in, it was a component. We imported this base house component, and if I select it and go to my entity info, it tells me it's a base house. Yours might say untagged, but it will say base house down here. Now, if I edit this component, and I just go to maybe my line command and draw a line on the face here like that, it appears on all of them because it's a component. And we edited the component. So I don't want that. I'm going to undo to get rid of that. Pick out here again and start over. So what we need to do is to first pick on that, and I'm going to explode that. Your instructions might have you explode the group, but it is the base house component that we're exploding. And if I pick out here and I pick it again, it's telling me that's the walls component that we created. So if we right click on that and edit that component, and I go to my line again and I draw a line across here, it still appears, right? So we don't want that to happen. I'm going to undo and pick out here again. So if we select it, it's telling us it's our walls component. And if we edit this component, it will affect these other three homes. We don't want that to happen. So in this case, what we need to do is to right click and not edit yet, but make it unique. Making it unique will prevent it from affecting the other ones. So now if we select it, it's still our walls component, and I'm going to right click and edit that component. So now if I go to my line command and I draw a line on the face, you can see that the other ones do not have the line. So that's what we need to do before we continue on and trying to fill in these little corners here. So I'm going to undo, get rid of that line. We don't need that. Okay, so we're ready to zoom in and fill in these little gaps because we have an arch door in a square opening. So we need to edit the walls component. So I'm going to select it, right click, edit component. And now we need to draw an arc right over this arc. If you select the walls here and you get the little dots, you know that you're in the right editing mode. If you don't see the dots, you may not be in the right editing mode. So you can leave those on there, that's fine, it's not going to affect anything. So we need to use the 2-point arc. So if you select that, and before we do anything, if you look down here, it says 12, and I'd like for you to change that to 24. So I'm going to type in 24, enter, and that gives us 24 sides, you can see there, in the arc. So between here and here, there'll be 24 sides. And that is a much smoother arc than if we had it 12. It would have been more segmented. So to begin with, we want to pick the spring line. So the spring line again is where the arc starts from this vertical part, and it goes directly to that point, so it's easy to find. So if we pick there, we want to move it where we see, and if you square it up a little bit like that, and you can see that triangle form with those dotted lines, and it says in point outside active. Okay, but the most important part is you see all those dotted lines in that triangle. So if you pick there, and then the next pick will be right there when you see that angle there. Go ahead and pick there, and you can see that this filled in. Okay, so I'm going to do this to this other side the exact same way. We're still in the 2-point arc command. Select there, and select there. So that filled in. What we need to do is to push-pull this little surface inside through the other side of the wall. So I'm going to turn off our doors layer and zoom in. You can see that we only made that surface on the outside part of the wall, but we need it going all the way through this thickness here. So if we select it and go to push-pull, we can pick on it and go to that other side. You can type the distance, which was 4.5 inches, or what I like to usually do is just go to an edge and pick there. All right, so I'm going to orbit around and pan and position myself so I can see what I'm doing. And if I need to select that again and go to push-pull, pick it, and then come down here where it says on edge and pick that. Okay, so at this point you can theoretically erase these two lines. So I'm going to get in my erase command and I'm going to select that line, and if the line disappears and not the wall, then I know I'm good. So I'm going to pick that. Okay, I'm going to pick that one, and that one. So far so good. Now we're really not going to be looking from inside out, so we don't need to worry about the lines in there. I'm not even sure if they're there, but we don't even need to check. So we've got now our nice arched opening. And as I said before, it's good to clean up these corners here as far as the, not corners, but these extra little lines. And remember, because of the geometry, if we select that, it gets rid of our surface, and we can't do that. So I'm going to undo, and this time what I'm going to do is to select that line, right-click, and soften. So there's another line up here. Select that, right-click, and soften. And select, right-click, and soften. You don't want to hide it. You just want to soften it. Okay? There's a difference. We'll get into that later. So there you have a nice clean opening for your door. And your door is hidden, or rather it's off on the tag, so I'm going to turn it back on. And then I'm going to get out of the editing mode. And now what we need to do is we need to push that door back, similar to what we had here. So this time I'm just going to come here and actually select that, right click and hide it. Select that, right click and hide it. So when you hide things, it's only for a temporary period of time. You don't want to hide things for a long time because it might be difficult to bring it back. So we're over here and there are those lines. So if we want to really clean this up, we can just select this, right click, edit, and then select that line, delete it, or go to the erase command. Might be easier to pick those lines. Might as well, since we're inside. Okay. And now we have to get out of this editing mode. So I'm going to right click and close component. And then I'm going to select my door. And like the other doors, I'm going to move it from this inside corner and place it flush with the inside face of the walls. Okay. Now, before we do anything else, we have to remember to bring our roof and ceiling back. Now, here I can see that I can see everything, but here obviously we can't because we hid them. So I'm going back up to my edit, unhide, and then all. It'll bring everything back. And so now we have a nice arched opening for our arched door. We don't have any excess lines. And they all look good. We can go back to our overall view. And I think that's it.